It goes without saying that there is a mountain of old games that I never had the opportunity to play while growing up, and in the case of Wolfchild had never even heard of before. So a shout out goes to Twitter user LaserSource for bringing Wolfchild to my attention. In response to his tweet, I said I'd check it out, and with today's episode, I've done just that. Wolfchild on the Super Nintendo was a port of the Amiga and Atari ST releases developed by Core Design and released in 1992. It was also ported to the various Sega consoles available at the time, like the Genesis and Master System, but because my first contact was a post about the Super Nintendo port, this was the version I decided to focus on. The SNES version of Wolfchild is a bit of a strange one, in that if you didn't Google this game, or if you had picked it up at a thrift store or something without its original packaging, you'd be completely clueless as to what the game is about, who the protagonist is, or what his motivations are, as there is simply no narrative in place for what's going on, and you only gain an understanding of what's been happening once you've completed the game. I even waited at the opening title screen to see if the story would pop up. It was quite a common practice back in the 8 and 16-bit era, but nothing ever did surface, which is a bit strange because the Amiga version had an intro, and it's not like they couldn't have fit one onto a SNES cart. Stranger still, the He-Man looking fucker on the title screen looks nothing like he does in-game, and oddly enough looks like the character in the opening sequence of the Amiga version. And what will really shit on your cornflakes is that for both SNES and Amiga versions, the protagonist doesn't seem to resemble the title screen and intro characters at all, having seemingly silver hair in-game and resembling a classic 80s glam metal rocker instead. It seems quite likely that the developers responsible for the SNES and Sega ports omitted the Amiga intro but kept the character in the title screen. It would have made a lot more sense just to leave the character out of the title screen altogether, or at the very least change the hair to match the in-game sprite's design.
Jesus. What a mind job.
So what's it all about then? Well, you play as Saul Morrow and it seems that your family was killed and your gene-splicing scientist father, Cal, was kidnapped by the evil Chimera organization, who are holding him hostage until he uses his gene-splicing invention to create an army of half-human, half-animal hybrids in order to destroy the world. That's pretty much as far as the SNES description for the game goes, but a quick search on Wikipedia indicates that Saul uses his father's invention to transform himself into a powerful wolfman, as seen in the Amiga version's intro, thus giving him the power to destroy Chimera and rescue his father. Needless to say, it would be too easy to be an all-powerful wolfman all the time, so you start off in human form capable of the typical human attacks, in this case punching. The game has you collect energy spheres which will allow you to transform into the Wolfman, capable of using much more effective ranged attacks. Get hit one too many times and you transform back into your human form. The enemies you encounter take the form of half-human hybrids as well, ranging from bird warriors, anthropomorphic lizards, giant insects, robots and numerous other things which I can only think were the result of Chimera experiments. Which makes me wonder why Chimera even needs Cal's machine in the first place, because some of the bosses in this game are a huge pain in the ass, especially the first boss, which almost made me abandon this game in a fit of frustrated rage, but once I found my rhythm I fared quite well for the rest of the game. Speaking of boss battles, they seem pretty tough initially, however, they use patterns that require them to move around the screen a lot for the most part, and I soon found that after a short time of trying to chase after the bosses, I was able to take out the majority of them by standing in one place, basically a blind spot, and just wearing them down until they were defeated. And this worked for the final boss Drax too, who eventually turns into a wolfman as well, so I guess Cal was forced to use his invention in the end anyway, which kind of just makes your quest to save him all the more trickier. I don't think masterful storytelling was the intention of Wolfchild, so I just enjoyed it for what it was, a simple platforming adventure game. Wolfchild was criticized for its repetitiveness, but I think it has some kind of unexplainable charm about it, as I really enjoyed this game, so much so that I would probably play through it again. From the moment you teleport in, there's an eerie futuristic feel about this game, as it takes you from airship to alien junglescapes, an ancient temple, and finally the Chimera base, and punching or blasting your way through these levels is an enjoyably satisfying experience that pushes any sort of supposed repetitiveness to one side in my opinion, and all of this is juxtaposed by a thumping 80s style soundtrack. However, there is one mystery about this game, even more mysterious than the entire story. Why on earth does every enemy sound like a crow when you hit them? If you are looking for a simple, enjoyable platforming game, then look no further than Wolfchild, It's not a game I grew up with, but it's an old game that I think is still good today.